What is going on, everyone? It is Kyle Gagliardi here, the host of the On the Mark Wrestling Podcast and the founder of the Overtime Sports Network, where this video is brought to you by OTSN at otsportsnetwork.com on the interwebs. And you can follow the brand on Twitter and Instagram at _OTSN to check out all the other content that these podcasts and bloggers provide here for the Overtime Sports Network. I technically do it all. And I'm here with an all-out preview and predictions video. Originally, I was going to go live last night. Actually, before that, let's take a step back. We were going to record an all-out podcast, but my co-host Jim Tucker wasn't able to record due to prior obligations. And then later on that evening, last night, Thursday, I was going to go live on Twitter. Decided not to because I, again, made plans. And then I was going to go live today, but then I just figured, hell, why not just do a YouTube video and do it that way? So here I am for my all-out predictions after 1 minute of talking nonsense. I say we just get right into everything. And the first matchup here on the buy-in match is Britt Baker, DMD, versus Big Swole. So apparently Britt Baker is back and good to go. Rumor has it, though, since this is a tooth and nail match, that this will be a cinematic-type production, which, cool. I mean, they seem to be working for the WWE, and it worked for AEW at the last show, last pay-per-view, that is. So why not try it here? I think Britt Baker wins, since it's kind of her home turf. It's apparently going to be at her dental office, so it makes sense for her to win in her environment. And since she is returning from her injury, I think we need to get that momentum going that she once had before she got hurt. I believe she was next in line to be AEW Women's Champion. So we need to get back on that path. We need to shoot her right towards Sheeta. Spoiler alert, Sheeta's still going to be champion. But I think Britt Baker's the next Women's Champion. So her beating Big Swole here on the kickoff would make a lot of sense. So that's who I'm going with here on the kickoff match. Next matchup we're going to talk about is the Young Bucks versus the Jurassic Express. This matchup happened because these guys won on Dynamite for the right to face each other at All Out. I kind of view it as a number one contendership match. Granted, that's not really what it is, but if you look at the Young Bucks and you look at Jurassic Express, either of these teams could be put in a title match at the next big show. So I think whoever wins this is going to be the next contender for the tag team titles. And with that being said, I think it makes sense for the Young Bucks to win. I think we're on this collision course of the Young Bucks versus FTR, so a step of getting there would be them to defeat the Jurassic Express here at All Out. I mean, Jurassic Express eventually should get a title opportunity. Hell, I would even like to maybe see them get a short reign because they're entertaining. You know, Luchasaurus is great. Jungle Boy's awesome as well. And you have Marco Stunt there as a comedic relief. So they work very well together. It's just not their time. Young Bucks need this win more. So I'm going to take the Young Bucks over the Jurassic Express here at All Out. And I want to remind people, I'm Mr. AEW. I'm Mr. Pay-Per-View. I hold the AEW, the OTM World Championship, and the NXT Championship for the On The Mark Wrestling Podcast. So I'm the predictions king. If you want to listen to anyone's predictions, this is the guy you want to listen to. Me, Too Sweet Kyle. Make sure you follow me there on Twitter if you're not. That is Too Sweet Kyle. Next matchup here we're going to talk about is a Broken Rules match between the Broken One, Matt Hardy, and Sammy Guevara. I've gone back and forth on this match as I have with a lot of the matches here on the card, but I think since the stipulation is if Matt Hardy loses, he leaves AEW, I don't see him leaving AEW. So I'm going to go with Matt Hardy here. I think they're going to slowly bring Sammy back into the fold. I think the reason they put him... Well, obviously, Matt and him were feuding before the whole incident with Sammy Guevara and Sasha Banks came out. But I think they want to, just slowly get Sammy back into a groove. I think him winning here would not be the right message. It might be too soon. So I'm going to go with Matt Hardy here. I think he stays in AEW, obviously. But the only way I could see Sammy winning is if Matt Hardy comes back as a different version of himself, because we know we've seen Matt Hardy in these multiple versions already on AEW. So if he were to lose here, maybe he comes back as someone else. I don't know. But for me personally, I'm going to take Matt Hardy in this matchup. The Broken Rules matchup, which should be pretty solid. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Next matchup here on the card, we have the Dark Order, led by Mr. Brodie Lee, the TNT champion, taking on Matt Cardona, Scorpio Sky, and the Natural Nightmares. Another matchup I could see going either way. I could see the face team of Matt Cardona, Sky, and the Natural Nightmares winning. Maybe if Cardona gets a win over somebody in the Dark Order, since he's brandly new. But I think the Dark Order's momentum is at the highest it's ever been, and a loss here could kill a little bit of that momentum. So I'm going to go with the Dark Order here. Like I said, though, wouldn't be surprised if Matt Cardona got the win for the babyface team, because maybe he could be next in line for a TNT championship opportunity. I don't know. I think you can go about that other ways, but that would be the only reason I think the face team would get the win. So with that being said, I'm going to go with the Dark Order here in this matchup, which is another matchup that should be pretty solid. Now, before we get into the Battle Royal, once again, I got to take a drink of my lemonade here because I don't have the editing tools on YouTube, and we're just freeballing this, so cheers. Next matchup here at All Out is a 21-man Casino Battle Royal for an AEW Championship opportunity. It kind of reminds me of the Casino Ladder match, just without the ladders. It's a Battle Royal. The winner, obviously, will face the winner of the Jon Moxley MJF match, which I will talk about last, so stay tuned for that. I know that's a highly debated match for sure, but I've gone through my head of a lot of possibilities here. At first, I thought Lance Archer, but in my opinion, Lance Archer is going to be feuding with Brian Cage. It seems like they've had this, back and forth going on with Taz and Jake the Snake, so that might be the direction they're going with him. So that takes Brian Cage out of the mix as well. I think Starks and Darby Allin are feuding. They're not ready for this title opportunity. I'm going to go with a guy that's been with the company now pretty much since day one. He's got his opportunity before, but we haven't really seen him much on TV lately. And that's Shawn Spears. I'm going with Shawn Spears in this one. Rumors of a new Four Horsemen are coming out that it could be FTR, Shawn Spears, and Cody. So I guess if he won this one and got himself an AEW Championship opportunity, we could maybe be making our way there. I'm not 100% sure. This is me kind of going out on a limb here. I wouldn't be surprised if a guy like Eddie Kingston won. He's been hanging out with the Lucha Brothers and the Butcher and the Blade. I mean, those are guys to keep an eye on as well. But I think I'm going to go with a wild card pick and Shawn Spears, just because I think everybody else that's involved in this match kind of has their own storyline going on. So Shawn Spears, from what I've seen, because I don't watch AEW Dark, I just watch Dynamite, he doesn't have anything going for him. So I think we need to get him back up the card, and maybe he'll win the AEW Championship. Probably not, but I'm going with Shawn Spears in this matchup. And, that's it. Probably a surprising pick to some of you, but it surprised me. Like I said, I thought Lance Archer. I even thought about Pentagon Jr. because we know what he can do as a singles wrestler. Maybe even a returning Pac. We don't know what Pac's doing. So if he's in this match, I wouldn't be surprised if Pac won. But I'm going with Shawn Spears. I think it's a risky pick, but I'm the AEW champion. I can do what I want. The final non-title match that I want to talk about here is the Mimosa Mayhem match between freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy and La Champion Chris Jericho. This one's another match, like many here, where I have flip-flopped. I've thought about Chris Jericho from the beginning. Then I started to think, maybe Orange Cassidy's going to go over for the second time against Chris Jericho. And then I look at this stipulation. There's going to be a pool of mimosa. It makes sense for the heel to go into that pool of mimosa, which I still think he will. But I'm going with Chris Jericho in this matchup. I think Chris Jericho needs to get that momentum back up. He was the very first champion. He really hasn't done much since losing that title belt. He already put over Orange Cassidy once. And, my boy freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy, he's not going to be hurt by this loss. I still think he'll get the last laugh by putting Chris Jericho somehow into the pool of mimosa. But I think Chris Jericho's going to get a win. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was a quick win, just to, skyrocket Jericho back up the card once again. Because even though he's older, even though he already held the belt, he's still one of the biggest draws in AEW. So I think he needs this win more than Orange Cassidy does. I don't know what you would do with Orange Cassidy if he were to win here. What would be that next step? So I'm going with Chris Jericho in this matchup. But I do think Orange Cassidy will get the final laugh by throwing Chris Jericho into that pit. And finally, we have 3 title matches here I'm going to talk about. The first one, the Women's Championship, I think this one's easy, but I am excited for it. The women's division in general in AEW has been slacking. I mean, everybody knows that. If you try to stand up for the women's division, you might be a little biased because it's one of the worst ones they got out there in professional wrestling. But I think Hikaru Shida has done a great job as a champion. I thought the build-up to her getting that championship was phenomenal. And then you bring in the NWA Women's Champion Thunder Rosa, who is worldwide known for being an awesome wrestler, who I personally have only seen work once, and that was against Serena Deeb this Wednesday. I'm very excited for this match, but it just doesn't make sense for the NWA champion to come in here and take the AEW belt. And like I said earlier, Britt Baker is probably going to win that buy-in match against Big Swole, so I'm expecting Britt Baker and Shida to be a women's championship matchup in the near future. So to make that happen, Shida's got to retain, but it's going to be a good match. I'm very excited for it. Another thing is I won't be watching this match live. Probably end up watching it Sunday morning. I have a wedding on Saturday. It's unfortunate I won't be able to watch live, but I will end up checking this out just at a later date. So please don't tweet me spoilers. Just don't do it. Don't be a dick. Even though that you probably are going to be a dick if you're watching this video and you follow me on Twitter. You're just going to be that person. Don't be that person. The final 2 matches here on the All Out card that I'm going to talk about. We got the AEW, not WWE, the AEW World Tag Team Championship match between Kenny Omega, Adam Hangman Page, the champions, versus FTR, formerly known as The Revival. It's not going to be a surprise on who I'm picking. It's who most of us are going with in this matchup. I believe FTR is going to walk out the new World Tag Team Champions. You know, they recently signed about 6 months ago, and they were put right on our television screens, right into the main title picture for the tag team division. And we've been starting to see the unfolding here of Kenny Omega and Adam Page. Hangman and Omega, it's time for them to do their own singles thing, and they're probably going to have a singles feud. I wouldn't be surprised if the Bucks and Omega turn heel, and we have a heel elite, and the only babyface that comes out of it is Hangman Page. That's something to keep an eye out. But I think in this match, it's going to be awesome. This could be a match of the year candidate, honestly. We know that all 4 of these men can work, but, you know, with Tully Blanchard now at the side of FTR, I think it's time to pull the trigger. I think FTR deserves these belts. They're a true tag team, and AEW, they got their money's worth with Omega and Hangman as champions. It's just time to move on from that story and have them go back to their singles thing. So I have the FTR coming out as the new tag team champions, which then takes us to the main event. Jon Moxley, the AEW champion, versus MJF. At first I was going MJF. Then I'm thinking, Moxley. Then I thought MJF again. And then I saw last Wednesday's Dynamite. The way MJF came out on top, and we know in wrestling, when the go-home show comes around and that person comes out dominant and on top, they eventually probably lose the following Saturday/Sunday. I'm going off of that logic and that logic only. Also, I want to say this. I am a big fan of MJF. I think he's one of the best heels in the business. He's 24 years old. He's got plenty of time. Plenty of time to win that title. But the presidential MJF 2020 gimmick, I get it with the times that we're in with the presidential race coming up. It makes sense, but I liked what he was doing before that. I don't get the whole MJF 2020 gimmick. I think we can just him be a dick, and that's cool with me. But I wouldn't be surprised if he won, nonetheless. But I'm going to go with Jon Moxley retaining his AEW World Heavyweight Championship. I could imagine Wardlow maybe getting pissed off too, and maybe costing MJF in this matchup. That's another wrinkle to keep an eye on, but if we're going to be honest, Jon Moxley probably doesn't deserve to lose this. I mean, he hasn't been a great champion in my personal opinion, but he's one of the best, if not the best, in AEW, so let's see what he could do more with that belt. Maybe a potential match with Lance Archer's down the road, or Brian Cage, or even Shawn Spears, who I mentioned to win that Battle Royal matchup, so with that being said, I'm going with Jon Moxley to retain his AEW championship. It seems like a lot of people are on the MJF train here. Not me. I'm going with Jon Moxley. But there it is, ladies and gentlemen. There is my 2020 All-Out predictions. Let me know down below in the comment section who you think is going to win each match here at All Out. And make sure you're following the podcast on Twitter at Pod on the Mark. And you could follow me at 2SweetKyle. That's 2Sweet Kyle. And I will catch you guys next time with Tucky, hopefully, for a predictions video here on the Overtime Sports Network YouTube channel.